So, welcome to Inspired for Mission. I'm Jamie Larson McClune, a member of our Synod's Mission Table, which hosts Inspired for Mission. I'm also a pastor at Bethel in Muskego and Gloria Dei in Menominee Falls. We are here tonight to hear about some experiences of the sacred in creation. And we have a few guests to share some inspiring stories with us this evening. As hopefully you noticed when you arrived in the Zoom room, this event is being recorded. So you will be able to share the inspiring experience you have tonight with your friends in ministry. Probably within a week or two, we'll get that posted on the Synod's Inspired for Mission website. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to start with Pastor Larry Harpster. We can see a picture of him. We are not able to see him live tonight, but I think we'll survive through that. Pastor Larry is the coordinator of Milwaukee Wild Church, and he is going to get us started, but he brought some guests with him this evening as well. And I'm wondering, Pastor Larry, if we could start with you introducing yourself. And for those who don't know, maybe give us a 2 or 3 sentence description of what is Milwaukee Wild Church.
I only get 2 or 3 sentences. Holy mackerel.
I knew that would be a challenge.
Um, Milwaukee Wild Church is a nature spirituality community that focuses on the idea that there are 2 ways God reveals God's self, or the sacred reveals itself. One is through the scriptures and Jesus, and the other is through nature and creation. And we focus on the nature and creation awe of the sacred. And Wild Church tries to have nature teach within the experience of worship. So nature contributes to the worship, and it's interactive, gathers in a circle, and I'll try to stop there. How's that?
Thank you. I know
Okay.
that you and others will have more time to expand on that answer,
hmm
and we'll open up for questions at some point too. So if folks are seeking more explanation, there will be
hmm
time for that.
hmm
Um, Pastor Larry, could you also just give us a brief introduction to yourself and then introduce the folks you have invited to share some stories tonight?
Oh, okay. I have been a pastor in this synod for 38 years. I was a mission developer for 20 of those years. I'm a crazy nature person. And a few years ago, I got a little burned out doing regular church. I took a 6-month sabbatical and got reading Celtic spirituality and nature spirituality. And I got this idea of this wild church sounded really cool. So we started just doing some events every quarter or so. And then people showed a lot of excitement and interest. And I got a grant through the bishop of the national church. And now we're doing things every week. So I'm really, really excited. I think I was born to do Wild Church, and I was I was created by God from birth to do Wild Church. So I really designed a church for myself, and so that's a good introduction. There are some people here that are really cool people. Frank Janzo's here. He plays guitar. Tom Pizza's here. He plays guitar. He's on our leadership team. Steve Bogey's here. He plays guitar. Shell Delisle's here. She's one of our lay leaders. She's into forest bathing and forest therapy. She's got a little, maybe something we can do at home on Zoom. My neighbor here's Kathy. Kathy's here. And and Sarah Stummy's here too. Sarah is somebody that leads she leads our hiking church events once a month. Her and Tracy Gingras, and so Sarah's here too. So yeah, so I know a lot of these people on the screen. Yeah. And my wife Lucinda's here too. She's required to support me by doing this. Yeah. So how's that?
That is wonderful. So
Okay.
I know some of those folks you named, and I'm wondering if a few of you or all of you might be willing to think about and share an answer to the question, um, how have you been influenced by nature spirituality? What drew you to this wild church thing, and what gets you excited about it? And if there's someone who wants to go first, just jump in.
I'm an introvert, but I can go first. So, yeah, so I'm Tom Peets, and really it started in the formation of when I was younger as a kid. We go on these trips outdoors and all that. But I remember picking up guitar at Luther College and working at Okoboji Lutheran Bible Camp and playing at the campfires and being outdoors in that context. And then taking the guitar and the music on the road throughout the world on various locations, but in particular, Ecuador, Bolivia, and Peru in a Christian band through Youth Encounter. And we would be outdoors in various locations, even Machu Picchu, and to be able to share the music and amazing creation. And so to be able to carry this on, even in the greater city of Milwaukee and the beautiful neighborhoods and venues, it's great. So I feel honored to be a part of the team.
I am neighbor to Larry and Lucinda, which is a great joy. And as a kid, I went to church camp every summer in Central Ohio. And much like Lutherdale and other churches, a lot of the worship happens outside in nature. And we spent a good time, I mean, a lot of our time out in nature. And I just found that to be such a a wonderful place to experience God and to experience the joys of spirituality. And so I'm happy to be able to continue that. And I was at a recent event with Larry and Lucinda, and Frank Janza was there. I'm going to miss some people, but I, I I'm kind of at a changing stage of my life as I age, and I felt like I really had a revelation about what I need to be doing now, what I should be doing now. And it's something that's been puzzling me for, oh, probably the last year, 6 months to a year. And I just feel like, okay, little work to do, but I feel more settled. And it is because of Larry's leadership and because of really communing with nature that I was able to come to this.
Okay, this is the first Zoom I've done at night. I think I look like a ghost or something. I think I need more light. I am alive. Oh,
You're giving kind of a campfire aura, so maybe that's
oh,
appropriate
there
for
it is. Thank you. Well, I grew up the first part of my childhood up till like junior high in southern Illinois, deep southern Illinois, where there's lots of hills and valleys they call hollows. And at that time, there was so much safety. Mom would basically say, "You guys, we'll see you for supper." We would go for the whole day with friends, hiking around in these places and just loving the freedom and the wonder of being connected with all that beauty growing up. So, but my church was never really able to make a connection between, I think, the beauty of creation uh, as a way to commune with God. It was all, the church I grew up in was very heady. It was all about ideas and things. Um, so that's always been sort of a division in me until I would say the last 20 years or so, having done three sabbaticals, I always took 3 weeks of solitude somewhere in nature. And man, I had experiences there that you really struggle to find words to capture what they meant. But basically, it was experiencing the presence of God in nature and realizing I'm just part of this wonder, this whole thing. And so many lessons that came out of that. And it produced a lot of music for me. So it was very inspirational. So when I heard about Wild Church and the connection with nature, I thought I want to be relating to that. So it'll feed my soul in a different way. So that's it.
Thank you for that. I'm trying to see who else we haven't heard from. Steve or Sarah. Shell, I think you're going to be leading us in a practice at some point, but if you want to weigh in as well on how nature spirituality has influenced your life, we'd love to hear that too.
I spend a couple hours every morning. Sorry, Steve.
No worries.
I spend a couple hours every morning out in a different forest. I have a couple large furry friends that you might hear at some point while we're on the Zoom if I'm unmuted. And for me, that's the closest I get to really feeling anything divine. I think there's a lot of noise from people, from electronics, from the busyness, and I think the quiet of the forest and the interaction of just all the energies that are present there is just something that's relaxing and kind of quiets the spirit. So.
Thank you for that. Steve, do you want to share a story?
Sure, I'm ready now. And I actually got my unmute function to work. I struggle with that all the time. So this is a successful moment just now. I should stop while I'm ahead, if you know what I mean. Anyways, everyone, thank you so much for sharing your stories. I don't know exactly what I can add to that per se, but I really am inspired by, all the different relationships in nature. Like as I have my cat right here, as you walk around through nature and you just take a time to take a walk on a beautiful day or whatever have you, and there's the breeze and all that kind of stuff. That is a very divine space. One of the stories I told during worship that Larry was visiting at Mount Olive, and he asked if I could share this story. And this also comes from Lutherdale. And one morning I got up early and I was walking around the lake because you want to see what's going on and, get that spirit, that vibe of God in the area. Well, and I found a butterfly that was freezing from overnight. And the butterflies don't like to freeze. I don't think anything likes to freeze. Though I don't know if it was struggling or not per se, but seeing it struggling caused a reaction inside of me. I'm like, man, this butterfly needs to warm up. And not wanting to touch its wings or anything like that, I grabbed a stick and I went out into an area where the sun it was shining and I could warm, the butterfly. And I didn't want to touch the butterfly, but as I'm holding the butterfly in the sun, I could see the glistening of its wings and the different spectrums of color and the beauty of this beautiful, I don't want to just say insect, but this creature in front of me. And it's obviously God made, but the part that became really holy is when the butterfly reached its leg down into my hand and crawled down into my hand and warmed up in my hand to the point of where it started to flap its wings and then flew away. And I was like, that was one of the most holy experiences that I've ever had in my life. And those kind of moments don't always exactly happen inside of buildings. And sometimes you have to get outside to be able to experience that. And I am forever thankful for that divine moment. And we'll always be thankful for that. Just that simple moment of watching that insect, be heated by my hand and revived in the colors and then flying away. It was beautiful. So anyways, that's why I wanted to get more involved with Wild Church. And plus, just like there's 5 million guitarists in this group, we're all these dudes who like to play guitar and hang out in the woods. Anyways, thank you for listening.
Thanks for that story. Yes, Steve, I was going to ask Larry to make a disclaimer about, do you have to play the guitar? And I think the answer is no. Is there someone else who wants to share a story like Steve's, or a story about how important nature spirituality has been in your life? I know some of you came prepared with stories. For some of you, that might be an unanticipated question, but if you're here, it's a question for you. Ronald, yes.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Yeah. Okay. I belong to Messiah Lutheran Church. We're on the western end of Kenosha County, near Lake Geneva. We have members from there's several small towns, and we're very rural in nature. And I came here because I'm curious about this. I saw this on the e-news, Synod e-news. So I was just curious, and hopefully to bring back more information to our church. But for me personally, um, I've always been a big walker, and I walk everywhere I can. The town I live in is Silver Lake. It's a small town, and it's not much traffic. We don't have sidewalks, but you have to walk on the side of the road. But I try to walk 3 to 5 miles a day. I've always been intrigued with nature, and it just sort of settles me down especially if I'm troubled, and just experiencing nature. I went to school in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and got lots of snow, and I still like to walk through the snow. And yes, I appreciate, I guess, nature. And we sort of, I guess somebody said in the beginning, we're always, for church people, we're usually focused on scripture and Jesus, but with nature around us, it's just sort of a calmness and a peace comes over me when I do my walking, and just enjoy that. And I usually get my best ideas when I walk. I sometimes think my brains are in my butt, because when I'm sitting, I can't seem to get any thoughts. But walking, and especially walking in nature, is really just a calming effect for me. So I'm very interested. Hopefully, I can take back information to our church.
Yeah, that is definitely one of our goals tonight. Who else would like to share a story? Short story, longer story? Lucinda.
I always feel bad sharing, because I feel like, he's my husband, and so I'm inundated with this. But when you first started it, it just made a lot of sense to me, because I feel like all of us have had throughout our life just times where nature has really spoken to us. I just, when I was a kid, I used to watch that Mutual of Omaha, Wild Kingdom, or something like that. And that was my favorite show to watch, because it was amazing how complicated and intrinsically connected everything was with nature. And to me, I'm like, well, somebody's figuring all this stuff out. It's, as Ronald says, we're very intrigued by nature, at the same time, very calm. I recently heard a thing where it was saying how, you look at your computer at work, and at the end of the day, you're so exhausted by it. Like, I can't do this anymore. I'm just done. But you look at a waterfall, or a campfire, and we don't feel that way. You could do that for 5, 6 hours, and you're not like, I can't look at this fire anymore. I'm done. I'm just tired of it. And I just feel like that, to me, is the part of nature. It's very calming. It's very, and I just feel like it is just naturally very spiritual. So when Larry was first getting all connected and very enthusiastic, as many of you know, where he can't stop talking about this all the time. But there's a part of me like, oh, well, that's just makes so much sense to me. So that to me really connects, like, what's in the scripture, which gets passed down and can get translated and all that other kind of stuff. And nature is just still here telling us the same story it's been telling us for years. We just need to to pay attention to it and to notice it and to take it in a little bit.
Thank you. Is there someone else who wants to share? I don't want to keep anyone from sharing a story. I have some more questions, but if you have an initial story you want to share, please jump in. Carla, is that you ready to jump in?
Yeah, my church was one of the urban churches in Milwaukee area that closed. And I've been church shopping for a while, haven't really found anything, and was on the Synod listserv and heard about Wild Church. So I've been helping out with Wild Church. And in my own life, I got turned on to camping by a good friend when I turned 40. So like for the last 10 years, I've been camping. And I've got 3 different things that I haven't quite connected together yet. And this is the first time I'm actually verbalizing all 3. I'm a big movie sci-fi fan. And so the best way for me to describe the peace that I find when I've been out camping is much like the Force from Star Wars. I feel connected to this force. And kind of like the Matrix, where everything has this energy, everything gives off this force, this energy, this life force, that when I feel connected to God, it's very, very much like the Matrix Star Wars. And I just heard this week someone talking, this article was about how normally we talk about our souls being inside of us and people measuring your soul or where is our soul. And they were saying that actually your soul is not in your body. Your body is in your soul. And that it's like this bubble around you. Your soul is like this bubble around you and you live within the soul. And so I'm trying to connect this in my mind. Like I'm picturing this bubble of energy around me. That's my soul. And bumping into like I haven't quite connected all of these 3 Matrix, Star Wars, Bubble Boy kind of concepts, but there's something there that I'm feeling called to like, I don't know if it's going to be a theory or something, like I don't know, but there's something there. And like today I went out to see Hugh Jackman, who was at Cops, and I wasn't one of the first 500. I didn't get to meet him, but I spent 3 hours standing out in line talking and meeting to people, and I rushed back home and I just feel awesome. I didn't get to meet the guy at all, but just being outside, like just, I don't know, there's something that keeps drawing me back to Wild Church, even though I can't fully understand it and I can't fully express it.
Carla's a hammock camper too, and she camps 12 months a year. She camps every month of the year. Carla is very impressive, very impressive. So, thank you, Carla.
And I think you explained the unexplainable well. Thank you for speaking those ideas together to us as you continue to play with them and learn from them. Is anyone else who's here ready to share a story? And if not, I have a couple questions. I definitely want to make sure that we have time for Shell to lead us in a practice. Shell, how much time do you think we should set aside for that?
Do you know, I only need a couple minutes, but I do have a deadline. I have another gig at 7:30.
Okay, well, and our goal is to end by 7:30, but we'll make sure you get a little cushion there so you're not rushing from.
That would be good because I actually have to get in my car and drive. So I was going to flip over to my phone when I was done with my activity. So.
Oh my gosh, no, then let's do that now. We'll pause for a moment to kind of experience as best we can on Zoom what nature spirituality is like. Is that sort of accurate, Shell?
Yeah, so I wanted, I wasn't sure what the timing was for this, but I wanted to, so I'm a sound healer. I do some things with frequencies, but I think nature is very healing. So I wanted to ask the group to just get in a position of comfort, which obviously is sitting in front of your computer. And I just want to take about a minute and a half, and I want you to close your eyes and begin to breathe. Just deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just listen to the frequencies of the earth and the sounds of the forest. And keep breathing deeply. Feel it in the back of your throat. You can feel the breath come up over the top of your head and down your back as you breathe out. And continue to breathe in. And you can picture wherever your favorite outdoor spot is as you listen. And feel the relaxation and the tension just leave your body. Relax the valleys beneath your eyes and your temples. Let your shoulders drop. Flex your toes and your fingers and then relax them. Continue to breathe deeply. Feel that connection to nature even from your home. Take one more deep, deep breath and release it. Let the tension go and connect to all those around you and the Creator. And as we take our last deep breath and we open our eyes, just remember that connection so you can find it again in your daily walk in regular life. And you can open your eyes again. And that was just a quick minute and a half of binaural beats to help you relax with nature sounds, because those are my favorite. And I hope you felt some relaxation and connection just doing that very short exercise.
Thank you for that, Shell. Definitely, that had me thinking about the ways we can feel connected, certainly in person, but even when we're sharing stories on Zoom. And that practice just reinforced that for me. So thank you so much.
Sure.
If you have a moment, I do have a question for you.
Sure.
Would you tell us about forest bathing?
Oh, yeah. I think some of you might have been there when we were at, is it HOP in
House of Prayer.
House of Prayer in
Yeah.
Franklin. So there's different ways to forest bathe. And the key thing is that it's not how far, it's not, forest bathing is not a hike. It is more of finding a spot and then identifying something in the forest. It can be the sound, where you immerse yourself in sound and you divide the different sounds, the layers, the sitherism of the leaves in the trees. Even right now, like the oaks don't lose their leaves in winter, and you can hear that rattling along with the wind through through the rest of, sorry, my dog wants to be part of this conversation. Through the leaves and then the rattle of some of the, maybe the dogwood branches hitting each other, but yet there's still the birds. And you break those layers down. And sometimes forest bathing might take you maybe 10 feet into the forest, and that's where you stop. And it could be the sounds, the layers. It could be just simply gazing up at the sky and looking for the waves of the breeze or the wind, feeling that come through you. It's almost like being in an ocean when you feel the waves go back and forth, when you're feeling that around you. And it's very much about taking one sense. Could be sight, could be what you feel. If you're brave, it could be tasting things. It could be something very tiny where you lay on the floor of the forest and you maybe find, watch insects on the floor or find some moss. Moss can also be your sense of touch. And you just spend, forest bathing can take 20 minutes in one place, or for some people can be up to 3 hours. And it's really about immersing yourself in what is there. Feeling that you're part of the forest could be one thing. They encourage you to do other things like imaginative communication. This, or the feeling that you're being drawn to a certain area. I think I shared this, that each morning I just am kind of quiet and just wait for the universe to tell me which forest I should go to that morning. And I find that it usually turns out pretty well. When I get lazy and go to the closest one, usually that would be the day that one of my dogs sees a rabbit and I end up, oh, I know what it was. The one day it was a black and white kitty on the path and I was face down for about 20 feet being dragged. Fortunately, I lost my phone on the path and not in the long sawgrass they dragged me into. But they encourage those type of communication with the forest and then really delving into whatever is around you. And there are different ways to do it. You can have a prompt. There's different prompts that you can get. There's books. There's, hold on just a minute. Hey, babe, can you put them out? My female dog has decided she's going to put a hole in the wall if someone doesn't let her out. There's prompts that you can get there. You can just see where you're led when you're out there. But a lot of times you can spend an hour or two and really not get further than 50 feet. And so the idea is to kind of lose your sense of self and belong to all of the forest or the wild that's around you. And it's a little misleading. You don't have to be in a forest to forest bathe. You can do it in a desert. You can do it on a beach. You can do it on a mountain, snowy mountaintop. But it definitely gives you a sense of connection to something bigger than yourself.
Thank you. And Pastor Frank has a comment on that.
It's a question.
Or question.
My hearing is somewhat compromised. So those two words, forest, what's the second word? I can't make it out.
Forest bathing, like taking a bath. Taking a bath in the forest.
Bathing. Oh,
yes.
I love that idea. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
And I apologize, Frank. I am a quiet talker.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's maybe a challenge for those of us that are walking.
It's a challenge for my husband.
Deaf
He
men.
doesn't have and he tells me that if he says what, I talk quieter.
What?
Exactly.
Jamie, this is Larry. Could I just share a couple other things that we do try to teach at Wild Church gatherings? Just
Yes,
quickly?
please do.
Yeah.
Pastor, I'm going to flip over to my phone so I can drive to where I need to be while I listen, if that's
Sure.
okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Shell. That was
Sure.
great. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. One of the things we mention when we gather at Wild Church is we talk about things like a sit spot, and Shell did mention that, where you have a place in your life that is special to you and you just go and sit there. It could be a dock, it could be a backyard. I have a special curve in a trout stream that I set on a log. I have some spots, but most people need a spot, I would say, that at least once or twice a week you can go sit there and just have some peace. There's been all these studies done about how sitting in nature makes you healthier in all kinds of ways, lowers your blood pressure, does all kinds of wonderful things for you. The other thing that I share real quick is to have a nature altar at home. When I first started reading about nature altar, I went to my house and I didn't realize this, but I had three. I didn't know it. And what a nature altar is where you have things from nature that are special to you, maybe a memory, something you found, something that spoke to you, and you just have it in the house in some place where you can see it. And I've talked to many, many people about Wild Church, and all of a sudden they say things like, "Yeah, I have a nature altar. I didn't realize it." And so that's something, bring something in. I have all kinds of I'm into petrified wood, I'm into all kinds of rocks, I'm into all kinds of things. And that's something else. And the third thing, I think Sarah's here. Sarah Stummy, my pal. Sarah's here. And once a month we try to do a reflection walk or a hike. We call it hiking church. Sarah, you want to share a little bit about that? You're one of our experts in reflection walks. You want to share a little? Can I put you on the spot?
You can.
Okay.
So, like one of the kind of the parts that I like about doing kind of the walking reflection together, and it's the same thing that draws me to dinner church, is moving away from more of a and I'm not saying this in a negative word, but a stage or a front focused experience to one that's more holistic. So we do dinner church, we're at a table and we're talking and sharing in a meal. When we're outside, I feel like we're grounded, both like physically to the ground, and all the things everyone else has shared, like our bodies are so connected to God, whether that's sound. So I really appreciated the sound part tonight, the smells, the touch, the taste, of just being outside. So that's what part that I appreciate is just that a different orientation. I think that helps us experience and connect to God. Um, Part of it's a little bit different from that we're kind of working into along with forest bathing is well, it's good to have a good hike and that kind of sense of physical exertion. Kind of practicing that entering and leaving and just that sense of as we begin a walk, opening ourselves to what God might show us that day or what we need, what we can connect to. And then also, as we leave nature, kind of that sense of gratitude for whatever gifts we receive. So what we're trying to build in, even into our nature hikes, is a sense of ritual, but really thinking about how we enter spaces and leave them, and the gifts that are present. And nature does that in such a great way, our hikes. So.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. I'll say one last thing and then I'll be done. It's that every one of our gatherings we try to emphasize use all your senses. Just don't stare at your phone. Use smell, use touch. And we do a lot of fun things with that. But nature spirituality uses all of your senses. And we try to do all kinds of games and have fun with that and get people to think about using all of their senses. God talks to us through all of our senses. Yeah.
And,
So,
um, we've
yes, sir. Go ahead.
in each place, both with the land's history, even thinking about land acknowledgement, but like kind of thinking about the geography, the time, the scape. So for me, I think what's powerful is I have a better sense of right relationship when I'm outside. When I'm inside and working, it's all in my head a lot, and so I just have I think a more appropriate or faithful perspective about my place in the world when I'm outside. And so that's something that's really powerful for me. And that comes from our hikes too, just like the eternity of what is surrounding us as well. Tracy Gringus has brought, as you shared, we've been doing a blessing from John Donahue, like engaging all our senses. And then each of the places is offered a gift. And we pulled from Seven Bridges, there's a blessing, if I pull up the right one, just right on the one of the bridges is just the blessing, may the God-given peace of this leafy solitude rest upon and abide with thee. So it's also been our experience that the different places we walk have revealed a blessing that we can take with us. And that one was just handed.
So I really appreciate what you just said, Sarah, and what Shell said about being intentional. Whether it's going on a walk or I have a lot of favorite places outside, but um, when Shell was talking, I thought of one place in particular that is so meaningful to me that I want to make sure that when our grandkids are here this summer, that I not just show them it, but show them, tell them why it's so important to me. But, when we go to church on a Sunday morning in a sanctuary, um, you probably all have certain kind of rituals, just getting dressed and mentally preparing and driving there. And and that is a ritual. And I have not really thought about taking a walk or just laying on the dock or whatever it is I'm doing. I've never thought about that in terms of the ritual aspect of it and how important that can be, because how intentional it can be and should be. So that's really been an eye opener for me. And Frank, you said earlier that that most churches don't really, institutional churches don't really connect us so much with nature. And I would never give up my worship at Mount Hope, but I, that was an important point to recognize that may be an aspect of our regular worship, perhaps I could say, that we really miss out on by not moving from that physical space, that confined space, and intentionally talking about what does it mean to grow crops, and what does it mean to have sandy soil and fertile soil and rocks, and we do know that, but we don't. I think we don't always transfer what happens inside a sanctuary to what happens outside.
Thank you. That was going to be one of my questions. Does anyone have some ideas about how we might make that connection for those of you who want to bring some experiences of nature spirituality back to your congregation? How might we do that, even in a traditional setting?
So I'm just pasted a book in the group chat. It's real short. It's like self-published, but it's called Narrow Hikes. And it's a guide for hiking, and you have to translate it to spirituality. But she talks just different ways to approach a walk. And I'd say walk instead of a hike. I think a hike is too big of a word for it. But it's what you were talking about, Kathy, like what kind of that moment of like what are you bringing to the hike? Are you open? Do you want to see what you're going to receive? Or, just different rituals to develop. And so while it's again more of a kind of like a psychology, I think it could be really, you could insert your spirituality. So I just popped it in there as a really easy resource that's kind of helped me think different ways about just what you were talking about, like the intentions or kind of that time. And then I've gotten a few books I can look and see just on like nature walk, like kind of nature walk, like not quite forest bathing level. Like I feel like that's graduate level, but kind of the in between that have just been helpful to think about metaphor. So like what are the metaphors of the seasons, or a word. And so kind of those books have helped me connect with the kind of the seasons and whatever's going on in nature, just to think a little bit more creatively. So I'll pop that one into, and that one again, it's not really big, but it just kind of help me think, move from like I'm out taking a walk to thinking spiritually about it, I guess, because I'm out taking a walk.
This is Larry. If I can just share real quick, Wild Church has two main missions. One is to create a nature spirituality community, a wild church. But the other mission is to help the congregations in the Greater Milwaukee Synod lift up nature spirituality in their own particular churches. And I will come to a church and do a forum, do a dialogue sermon, share ideas, and so will some of these other people on the screen. Steve Bogey and I just had a wonderful experience at his church in Mount Olive where we did a dialogue sermon and we let the whole congregation ask us direct questions about nature spirituality. So we're doing partnership things too. And actually I'm finding an incredible amount of enthusiasm and excitement about nature spirituality and including it in existing congregations. So please call me and let me know if that's something you'd like to plan in the future. I will come to any congregation in the Greater Milwaukee Synod and share some things with any group and any forum. So I just want to share that. That's half of our ministry too.
In response to your question, I wanted to, and Sarah reminded me of something. Many of you might remember Bishop Paul Stummy Deers. He was our pastor a long time ago. And I remember him saying, I think a lot of times we think prayer has to take the form of, dear Father, and end in Amen. However, he once did a sermon on prayer being many things, and that it could be while you're jogging, it could be while you're doing dishes. If your heart and your intention are placed correctly while you're doing it, that can be a form of prayer. And that kind of plays into something Larry refers to from John Muir, where he said, I would rather be in the mountains thinking about God than in the church thinking about the mountains. That's a paraphrase, Pastor Larry. I'm not sure that was exactly right.
It's good. Close enough.
Close enough. You got the intent, and he may even have used that actually in the sermon. As far as bringing it inside, I think a lot of times we think that we need to bring something from the forest into the church. Obviously, we just did that little exercise that I did with sound, but scent has been proven to be one of the biggest memory carriers in human existence. The smell of something can trigger a memory faster sometimes than anything else. And so I think sometimes bringing in the scent of pine, and that doesn't always have to be with a branch, but the scent of pine or the scent of fresh mown grass or something like that can be another way to bring that into a church.
Can I add a thought? You can hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, we can hear you.
Well, one of the thoughts I had was how we dress the chancel in worship. I did this all the time. It was very traditional with the candles on the altar, and he would have the Eucharist up there, and it was all beautiful, maybe a banner and all that. But having attended a couple of these Wild Church services, and Larry, you talked earlier about having in your house a nature altar, but I'm wondering if we couldn't learn something from the Methodists who are constantly decorating the altar and the chancel area with different things, and they're beautiful. But maybe bringing something from nature into that's alive and that maybe it's got a scent or something, but or maybe there's a bird or I don't know. I think that could really visually help make a connection possibility. And then one other thought is I recently was at a conference in Albuquerque, and there were 1,600 people in this convention, and it was all about spirituality in many, many ways, including in nature, a lot in nature. But the way they set it up was when you walked into the big gathering area, it was in the round, and it was pretty dark and just enough light to find your way around. And on these jumbotrons, they had these creation videos that were of nature unfolding in all kinds of different ways with just great music underneath it. And everybody coming in was silent and being connected together in that experience of it's not you're outside, but outside has come in through that media. And it was very powerful. And everyone kind of felt connected to each other. It was a fabulous way to begin. And I thought, what we're doing in worship is we begin, good morning, welcome everybody. And here's like 14 announcements, that you can, that just are boring to probably a lot of people. Wouldn't it be neat to come into a sanctuary that was, I don't know if it should be dark, but that was set up in a way that immediately connected you to the wildlife out there? That's all.
Thank you for those ideas. Carla wants to share as well. Thank you, Carla.
So, as Pastor Larry was talking about, one of the paths about Milwaukee Wild Church is that we help churches, what we say, become wilder. So we have a Facebook group that has 11 members that's called Wild Church Wilder. And it's where people and churches can can share like ways that they're focusing on breaking down those walls to connect us, to what's sacred in nature. So I'm just scrolling in the group, and there was St. John's Lutheran had brought in a portable labyrinth inside. We had Faith Lutheran in Cedarburg install some benches outside for people to sit on. We've had other churches do walking groups. When they meet, they actually meet in a local park. Unity Lutheran had the youth painting rocks for their prayer garden. So those are just some examples of things that you'll find in that Facebook group. I highly encourage everyone to join and to share your own ideas and examples, because I would love to get so much more meat into this group.
Thank you for that. That sounds like a great place for ideas to incorporate nature spirituality wherever you are, in the city, in the forest, in the suburbs. Shannon, is that right? Oh, we need you to unmute.
Shannon, you're muted.
I'm from Florida and get to do Wild Church on the beach. There is very little better than that. People come by, grab a chair, sit down, people who would never go to church. And that's a lot of fun. I taught at Wartburg for a number of years, seminary, and I've got some reading material that just blew me away. I don't know if any of you get the Christian Century, but in the December issue, there's an article by Belden Lane, and he talks about camping out, looking up, seeing a star that's millions and millions of light years away. And he says, now I'm looking at Regina, but maybe Regina is also looking at me. And he goes on from that and develops all sorts of nature connections. Anyway, I almost sent it to Larry, but I probably will. I'll have to after having said this.
Please, Shannon, send it to me, buddy. Good to see you. This
is a wonderful Zoom, and I am excited to be here. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, we are glad you are here. We have just a few minutes left, so I want to make sure if anyone has any questions, they have an opportunity to ask those questions. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask Pastor Larry, would you like to share some upcoming events with us and how we can find more?
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, you can go to Milwaukee Wild Church. It's just a Facebook post that has a lot of stuff on it, and it has our upcoming things. You can send me your email, um, and I will make sure you're on a mailing list. But here's what we do. Once a month, we worship in Waukesha at Ascension Lutheran, the first Sunday of the month. The third Sunday of the month, we worship in Brookfield at Christ the King Lutheran Church. They have a beautiful bonfire circle, so that always is a bonfire. And then once a month, we try to have a hiking church too. And then there's also partnership events. So I'm hoping this Sunday you will all show up at Ascension at 2 o'clock. It's going to be really cold, but we'll start in the fellowship hall, but our saunter, our little time of walk and reflection, our interactive walk, you may be able to go outside for a while and reflect in the beautiful snow and come back in. And then I'm thinking also of having a nature lovers coffee group where people can get to know. Wouldn't it be neat if the people on the screen got to have coffee and get to know one another a little better? I'm going to be doing that. And in January, there's going to be music and stories on the Labyrinth at Mount Carmel on Sunday, January 25th. We're going to be playing nature music, doing quotes, having a free meal provided by Thrivent. So you just need to, we have 14 events planned in the next 3 months. So go to Milwaukee Wild Church, send your info to me, Pastor Larry, and I'll make sure you get on the mailing list. We're really having fun. Can I tell a story, or are we out of time?
You can tell a story if you also put your email address in the chat.
Oh, how do I do that?
Tell the story.
It's Pastor L. Harpster.
Okay, that's
Becky
good.
knows it at gmail.com. I just want to tell you a story about awe that really affected me, and then I'll be done. Uh, Many of you know I'm trying to get to all the national parks, and I'm a fly fisherman. So I'm in Smoky Mountain National Park at the bottom of Indian Falls, 70 feet, and I'm sitting on a boulder, and I've caught a couple of trout. And a young lady in her 20s comes over to look at the waterfall, and she lets out a blood-curdling scream, and I think she's going to jump. She doesn't see me below the waterfall on the boulder. And then she leaves. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? So I pack up. It's about a 4 mile hike back to my van. And I run into her and her friend. And I say, are you okay? Were you all right? And she says, oh, that was a scream of awe and joy. So awe is an evangelism tool that God uses to reach us. Joy is an evangelism tool, and I've been getting joy my whole life out of nature. And that's why we're doing Wild Church, because it's one of God's ways, nature's one of God's ways that he communicates the sacred to us. Amen, huh? Amen.
Amen. I wrote that down. Awe is an evangelism tool that God uses to reach us. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight, for sharing inspiring stories, for asking good questions, for inspiring all of us and those who will watch this video in the future to connect with the Creator in different ways in creation. I'm just going to make a quick mission table inspired for mission advertisement. We are not going to have one of these conversations in January, but the mission table is hosting a lunch church at Together in Mission, which is Saturday, February 7th at St. Matthew's in Wauwatosa. So if you heard Sarah briefly mention dinner church, worship around the table, and that sounds like something you would like to experience, that will be an opportunity at Together in Mission. And then there will also be an opportunity to have some conversation about what that might look like in your congregation. So thank you all very much for being here tonight.
Thank you.